If you ever hear 3 knocks on your door at exactly 3 a.m., never open it. Because it may not be a person trying to get in, it could be something trying to let you out. On the outskirts of an old American town stood an abandoned Victorian house that had been empty for decades. The locals called it the house that never slept. Strangely, every single night, one of its upstairs windows glowed with light, even though the electricity had been disconnected years ago. One day, a college student named Ethan accepted a challenge from his friends to spend an entire night inside the house. Armed with only a flashlight and a camera, he stepped through the front door just before sunset. At first, everything seemed ordinary. Dust covered the floors, mold crept across the walls, and the air felt unnaturally cold. But when the clock struck midnight, he heard footsteps coming from the second floor. Tap. 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 Ethan assumed it was just a wild animal. Slowly, he climbed the staircase. But every time he reached the end of the hallway, the footsteps moved behind him. A chill ran down his spine. At 1:30 a.m., his camera suddenly turned on by itself. When he looked at the screen, he froze. Standing directly behind him was an old woman with her head tilted sideways and a smile far too wide to be human. He spun around. The hallway was empty. Panicking, Ethan rushed to the front door. But the door was gone. In its place was nothing but an old wooden wall, as if the entrance had never existed. As the night grew darker, the house began to change. The walls whispered in soft, raspy voices. Don't sleep. Don't sleep. Exhausted, Ethan struggled to keep his eyes open. He sat in the corner of the room, closing them for what felt like only a few seconds. When he opened them again, his watch read 2:59 a.m. Then. Knock. 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 3 loud knocks echoed from inside an old wardrobe standing in front of him. With trembling hands, Ethan slowly pulled the door open. There was no one inside. Only an old mirror. As he stared into his reflection, he noticed something horrifying. His reflection wasn't copying his movements. Instead, it smiled. Then it slowly raised its hand and knocked from the inside of the mirror. Knock. 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 His flashlight went dark. The next morning, the police found Ethan's camera lying in the living room. The final recording captured nothing but darkness and Ethan's terrified voice whispering. This house never sleeps. This house is dreaming. And now, I'm trapped inside its dream. Ethan's body was never found. Since that night, anyone passing the house at exactly 3 a.m. claims to see a young man standing behind the second-floor window, silently waving for help. But the townspeople know one terrifying truth. Anyone who waves back becomes the next resident of the house that never slept.